most of the common arenas where most real estate investors have chosen in the past have been flipping, wholesaling, single family buy and hold, multifamily, private and hard money lending, note investing, commercial. And if you could take one of those strategies right now in your bucket or your student's bucket, in the current conditions, and it had felt a comfort level, which of those would you believe would be the direction to go in? I know it's a lot of them, but which one do y'all feel is the best direction to go in today? Let's go ahead and start. Mr. V. Hill, you got the floor.
Well, for me personally, lending, I think is that's probably my number one place that we're going right now. We're giving a lot of education on being a passive investor right now. I've been doing a number of workshops. I've got another lunch and learn coming up in about a week and a half. I mean, there's a lot of, you need to stay in your lane, I think, right now. Don't vary out of it too much. There are opportunities to wholesale. So if you're a wholesaler, I think that's what you should stick to do, and just refine that and get better at it. I think, obviously I'm a big buyer of rental properties. So that's very important, but all that comes from money. If we can't secure the financing for it, then we're not going to be able to pick those things up. So the one thing that we're concentrating on the most is financing of all kinds. Now, it's not just financing with our private lenders, but I also know all the hard money guys out there. And like I've always said, if it's a deal, it doesn't matter where the money comes from. If the numbers still work, it works.
Right.
So, that's the number one thing for me. We're looking at, and we're also looking at, how can we create other owner finance? We do owner finance as well. We create notes, and sell properties owner finance through RAPs, through a number of different avenues to do that. We also started a program last year buying mortgage notes. We've got a very good program with mortgage notes, and actually through all this that's going on, that's actually doing very well out there right now. So money is going to be my number one place. I also think that education is everything. So like I said, I'm doing a lot of workshops right now on if you want to be a passive investor, if you want to get into this game, there's a lot of different ways you can do it. And one of the things that I preach all the time, and Rick just said it, do not just jump into anything. Right now, we see a lot of great opportunities out there that are going to be coming our way. And I agree 100%. But you've got to keep in mind, with great opportunity comes great pitfalls too. And if you're out there jumping into stuff without having education, without knowing, you're liable to get hurt really bad.
Right.
And that's what we're trying to prevent everybody from doing. But inevitably, people are going to do it. People do get deal horny, and now's the time to be very patient and think through the process. Look at the deals I won't say deals, just look at the opportunities that are presented to you, and see if they make sense. Really, if you don't know how to evaluate those deals, then find someone to help you evaluate those deals. Find a professional. Any of us on this panel can help you evaluate deals in many forms. We don't want to see people get hurt. And I think one of the biggest places where people will get hurt, if they're not careful and they're not smart, is in the money avenue, especially from the private guys. Now, our hard money guys, those guys are educated. Those guys are professionals at lending money, so they know how to look out for themselves. So I say this more to the passive investor that wants the private lender. They're the guys that can be very vulnerable in this situation as we're going through this. That's one reason I'm giving tons and tons of education on that, is to prevent that from happening. We started seeing a lot of that happen last year because the economy was in such good shape. A lot of passive investors were putting their money into deals that were too high. And I could give you a dozen stories on people that have come to me that in those situations. So, anytime we have an opportunity, we also have an opportunity for a lot of bad people to come out. So, our focus is going to be right now. Our number one focus is on money and securing money and being very prepared to move as the opportunities present themselves in front of us.
Gabe, in your experience of what you're doing and what over the next 6 to 8 months, during the current conditions, are you leaning towards any particular type of real estate, wholesaling, flipping, Steve's doing private lending? Do you see any direction that you see you're going to take off that you recommend to your students?
Yeah, so not everything. So yes, private lending for sure. That's a given. So this is the time. We've gone to all of our lenders and said, hey, we're sitting pretty good. This is where we are. Wherever their asset is, we'll let them know this is what your asset's doing. And then, are you ready? And so we'll prep them. And everybody can see through it, right? All of our team can see through it. All of our lenders can see, wow, this probably is a good opportunity. What else do you have going? So we'll start having those conversations, talking to them about other people around them. Private lending is it's such a fun thing to do. It's really relational. Talking about your business, you're talking about assets. So that's one of the things we're doing, and that's for sure. And I think that everybody should be looking at that. That's the financial structure of things. It's one of those things that you always have to be looking at. I've learned that from some of the people in this group of always looking at acquiring more cash, more money, more financing, because you can really never have enough. Because the other side is we're looking at doing some other manufactured housing, some parks, some RV parks, some other things that are on a bigger scale when it comes to some of the land and building out some of the land. I mean, guys, we have some land that has 6 units on it, and the tenants are saying, hey, you have this extra space. Can you go put an RV on it? I have some friends. Or can you put a tiny home on it? I have some friends. And I'm going, man, I don't want to dump my money into this property right now. Like I want to save my cash. And then I'm thinking, but I have these two separate tenants that are just there saying, and I know that they're totally checked out. And I'm like, man, that has never happened before where I had other people saying, hey, I need more. Like, please, my family wants to move here. I got other people. So that lets me know and gives me the warm and fuzzies that people still need a place to live, right? I mean, they're not going to go away. People need to move into places. So what can we do to get ready for that? So that's really what I'm focusing on. We'll always do or attempt to do wholesaling. That is just a strategy that you need to know. On some of the flips, we have some 300s right now. We just closed close to 300 yesterday. So we were already trying to get rid of as much of the higher end stuff as possible. I can tell you, if for all of my people, and I say for anyone here, if you have something that's under 225, it's going to fly off the shelf. Under 200, it's going to fly off the shelf because there's not a lot out there like that, and people are going to need that affordable housing with the lending and with other stuff. So what's happening is the banks are coming in and they're readjusting things. The closing we did yesterday was supposed to close 2 weeks ago, and the bank was just stalling and stalling. It's so, they're going to go back. And then I don't know if you guys knew this, but the banks are going back and checking your job 24 hours beforehand. So they're going through and they're scoping every single aspect, not just, hey, don't buy any furniture before you move in. So if you're selling a property, you kind of want to make sure that the lender or the borrower is legit. And we normally do that anyways, but man, this past house, the borrower was or the buyer was a Exxon executive. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, let's make sure they still have their job to move forward. So those are some of the things that we've been seeing that, yes, always have wholesaling in your pocket because you just need to know how to do the skill. But financing, like Steve V said, and then looking at some other opportunities to basically build wealth. This is the time to build your wealth. This is it. We've been prepping and we've been talking. AC, Steve, Rick, we've been talking about this for years. So we left the strategy years ago. Most people in the Houston market left it up saying, you don't really need to have so many exit strategies. You could always put it on the market and get rid of it. We're in the place where we're looking at 3 or 4 or 5 different exit strategies per property because we just don't know. But that's also where the wealth is built. So it's pretty exciting times.
Yeah, I think we're going to have a lot of challenges, but I'm with you. It's exciting because it's definitely going to sharpen our skills, and we can teach that to all of our associates and friends and members too. AC, I know you're real active. Do you see a direction that you are going, or do you see a direction that you would advise your students to go in the next 6 to 8 months?
Yeah, and it's funny because we were actually just talking about this on our last. We have Tuesday classes, online training classes. Now we have a various levels of everybody in our group. Obviously, people come in if they're just getting started and they don't have a lot of funds. Wholesaling is always going to be one of the safest ways to start because it's the least amount of money that you can put at risk. What is our risk when we're wholesaling, really, right? Marketing money, right? And yeah, 2,000, 3,000, maybe 5,000, maybe a little bit more when you're starting out per month in marketing. Most people are starting with about 2,000, 2,500, something like that. But you're risking about, anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000 a month, maybe when you're starting out. And that's a lot of money. I'm not saying it's not a lot of money, but the opportunity for return is great because you wholesale a deal and, our average return is 10,000. So you put out 2, make 10, you're still positive 8, and then you do it again and again and you scale up, right? Now, that is for the beginners who are getting into wholesaling. And like I said, I think that's a good way to get started because the least amount of risk if you're doing it the right way. Build up your buyers list. Make sure you're having the right buyers on your list. We're building up our buyers list. So if our students get deals, we have the buyers list. We already have buyers in place. And then for the other people that still have good jobs and still have, executive jobs that are well paid and they don't want to be in the sticks and bricks of really, they still want to be involved and they want to be past lenders. Reiterating exactly what Steve and Gabe said, we need money to work, but our deals are putting money to work in general to be able to make a return and be safe, right? You still have to make sure you're getting in on a good deal. You don't want to get in on a deal that's over leveraged or not a good deal, right? So educating them to be in on the right deal and how to make money passively with their money, either lending to us or other investors. And then, so that's the lenders and then the wholesalers. And then there's some that, they have good jobs and they want to be a little bit more involved. They want to be in on the buy and hold, but they want us to walk them through the process or with them. So we're covering, those are the 3 aspects I think are going to be good, throughout this, right? And wholesaling is always good because like I said, it's one of the safest ways you can get in and have the least amount of risk, right? Just your marketing money. So wholesaling, if you're beginning and you only have a little bit of money to start and try to build that up. And then if you have money, either lending the right way or buying and holding. Same thing we've all been doing this a while here and we've all known each other a while here. So, I think, and we've all seen a lot of the same stuff. So I think we all kind of have the same idea, like right now, and then getting creative. And when I say wholesaling, that could be wholesaling, subject twos or buying and holding subject twos, but somehow acquiring control of that property, right? So taking control of the properties and renting them out, lending, if you have money and you just want to be passive, you have no, the opportunity to wholesale and make money is always there. And I think it's really, because wholesalers don't know what they're doing, man, they're gonna get taken out so fast.
They're hammered. I agree.
Yeah. And I'm
holding properties. I get flyers daily. Reduce. What does that tell you? They bought them totally wrong. And hopefully those people will be out and get more opportunity.
Or they either bought wrong or they were trying to go for the home run assignment. And in the market that we were in last year, you could sometimes get it and hit that $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 assignment fee and maybe didn't leave the best deal for the investor, right? But now they're having to take $10,000 as an assignment fee, like I call it finding the greater fool, right? Like those out there that look for the greater fool. yeah, I was kind of dumb for getting to this high. You're dumber for paying more.
Yeah, but-
You know what I mean?
So you like you market and what you do is your business. You're looking at Adrian.
Well, definitely I'm gonna to reach. I'm selling my last one probably in 2 weeks, and I'm very hopeful it's gonna close. I made sure they had a conventional loan. They're putting 20% down. So, and I asked them about their jobs, and they look like pretty secure jobs. One of buyers works for the county, so I don't think they're gonna be doing layoffs anytime soon. And they only put like $100 option fee. So I asked them for more option fee, or I told them, okay, since you are only putting $100, I'm not gonna change the status of the property to pending, since we have a verbal agreement that we're gonna do that, or you put more option fee, because I'm not gonna wait 20 days for $100. Not even 100, it was $50. And they agree. So my property is still active, and if I get another offer, I have a backup offer at least. Doesn't mean I'm gonna back out of the existing contract, but at least I have more options. But to answer the question, I want to do more subject to deals. I'm already in love with the strategy. I was about to teach a class, live class, just before this started. I'm gonna do it online now, like everybody else, I guess. After that, subject to deals to do wraps, because I don't want to hold it just yet, because properties will still come down in my opinion. So I want to do subject to wraps so I can have some steady, you know, residual income coming in, and then subject to deals to hold it, a little later, maybe in a year. I can hold some anyway, but and then like in 2 years when the banks are flooding with this foreclosures, then maybe even buying notes. I'm not an expert in notes, but I think this is a great time to learn a new strategy. Or like Brand is doing mobile homes. I think that's also a greater strategy. Uh, I continue to doing the EXP realty model as well, and getting more residual income from that as well. So it's a matter of getting more avenues of income.
Yeah, I think multiple streams of income, all of us have been working on that for the last couple of years. No, we can't rely on just one thing. When we started out, we were wholesale. That's all we did. And slap ourselves, we never kept enough houses, but hey, it paid the bills, it made us a lot of money, so we can't really complain. But we learned over the years that we've got to have multiple streams to exist. Rick, the same thing with you. We've talked about it also, but what areas are we feeling we need to go, and then what areas are we advising our students to go into the next 6 or 7 months?
Well, I'll kind of take that one. So let's talk about what we're, kind of telling people right now. And one of those things is develop multiple exit strategies on a property or whatever you're doing. Don't get tied into that one way of doing it. If you see an opportunity and it has multiple exit strategies, do the one that makes you the safest and best money and is beneficial to all people, all the parties involved. It's got to be a win-win situation for everyone. I think every one of us at some point during this conversation today has talked about the morals and ethics of doing our business, which for the last few years, we've seen a lot of folks that aren't vying by that rule. The kind of cool part about it is those people are going away. People have seen through that ruse and their unscrupulous, unmoralistic, unethical ways of doing business don't work in this type of environment. And, I'm sorry this environment's happening for all of us, but I'm glad it's getting rid of the scum. And we can kind of skim that scum off the pond here now and have a little better environment to work in. Most of us in this business consider ourselves professionals in real estate investing. That's what we are. That's what we do. We enjoy it. It's under our skin, and we're here to make money. Don't get me wrong. I don't think it's immoral, unethical to make money, but I think it's immoral and unethical to take advantage. So having that ability to be able to work with people and have that win-win situation by putting out multiple exit strategies on whatever it is you're looking at in a deal or in an opportunity. And Mr. Vigil said it correctly. Let's not say deals, but in the opportunities that are presented to us, I think is really important. Now, what we're doing, I think we're really doing what we've always done, or what we've come to do in our later life. And I'll go back and I'll say, and I've heard every one of you guys say this in one way or another. If I knew then what I know now, what would I have done differently? Well, guess what, guys? It's then again. Or it very shortly will be. So what would you do now? Steve hit it right on the head. I can't tell you how many times we've looked at each other and gone, man, how many wholesale properties went through our building? And we said, how many of them we should have kept? Well, you know what? We're keeping them now.
Yeah.
Does it mean we're not going to wholesale? No, we'll wholesale properties. But we have the ability to keep properties now when they make sense. And if a property does, if we put a property under contract, it's something we've always said, and unfortunately it's happened twice to us. We've had 2 contracts that we weren't able to close one way or another.
Really?
But the bottom line to it is that we don't have to let a contract fail. If we put a property under contract, it's important to us that we have the ability to close it. I'm not going to get into a situation that we put, especially now, that we put a seller into a situation where it could cause extreme detriment to their way of life by not being able to actually close a contract and do the things we say we're going to do. But that being said, I think what the most important area of business that we're going to stay into is going to be the buy and hold landlord type properties. But I think it's going to be a little different than what we've done in the past. We've been talking about it, and one of the things I brought up here recently to the guys was that whether it's multifamily or if it's single family residence, I think you're going to see a little shift in what people are able to afford. And I don't know if it's what they're actually able to afford or what they perceive they're able to afford. I think what they're going to do is take some reassessment in their lives and say what's important. Like Gabe said, family's important. We got to make sure that we maintain that. We got to make sure our finances are in order. So I think they're going to take those 2 things into view, and maybe they're not going to rent that $3,000 a month house. Maybe they're going to look at a $2,000 a month house, or really the sweet spot we're seeing is about a $1,400, $1,200 to $1,400 house. And I think that's the business we're going to get into and stay, and maybe even less. I heard Fabian say it, the subsidized housing market right now, you get paid every month whether there's a job paying you. So you don't have one type of detriment that tenant is having as far as having the ability to stay into a job. You get paid every month. First of the month comes by, well, actually the third of the month comes by, and you typically have your payment. So I think that's what we're going to do. I think we're going to stay in our little lane, which is how we work. We like buy and hold. And we're just going to continue seeing how many we can pass. We really like that market. It's always made more sense that we can go one place and collect all our rent at one time instead of having to go door to door. Fortunately, and I've heard everybody say it, we haven't had a whole lot of problem. People are paying. We do have, obviously, it's not as rapidly as we want it sometimes, but everybody's been pretty good. So I think that's what we're going to do. We're just going to continue to do the same, but I think we're going to do it. We're going to get into properties. I think that's what we're going to possibly do. See what type of shit you have and move forward.